I would say coming into VMI, a lot of people try to prepare for what it's going to be like. They think they have an idea of what to expect, and then the first time they walk into campus, they're all blown away. So I think the best advice I can give to rats is just don't have any expectations going into it, and just be flexible and adaptable to what you get into there. So there's no real way to prepare for it other than just working out and then just getting ready for it. So I would just say my biggest advice is just be adaptable.
Welcome to the VMI Center for Leadership and Ethics Leadership Journey podcast.
This podcast aims to share leadership stories from our VMI Corps cadets and high-profile leaders who visit the Center for Leadership and Ethics and VMI Post. We're on this journey with you. Hi, I'm Derek Pinkham.
And hey, I'm Emily Coleman, and we're your hosts of the podcast. Paul Boucher is currently a second-class cadet studying international studies and political science. He hails from Orangevale, California.
He plans to commission in the Army upon graduation and has been involved in leadership positions in the Cadet Superintendent Advisory Board and the RAT Challenge, as well as a member of the Investment Club.
We discussed his transition to online learning, keeping up with VMI standards while being away from post and on Pacific time, and his experience at VMI and how that has shaped his views on leadership.
We spoke to Paul remotely from his home in California during the COVID-19 shutdown. Not once, but twice, as we worked out our sound issues with our first attempts at remote podcast. We appreciated his willingness and flexibility to bear with us on this new adventure.
And without further delay, we give you second class cadet Paul Boucher.
Welcome, Paul Boucher, cadet second class. Welcome to our first remote podcast. Emily, take it away.
All right, Paul, thank you for joining us. We're really happy to have you here virtually. We want to start off by asking you, what's your background story, where are you from, and what led you to VMI?
Well, I'm originally from Orangevale, California, international studies and political science major. I originally found VMI because coming out of high school, I had pretty good grades and I was leader in a couple organizations. So I really wanted a challenge going into college. So I looked into a couple of the SMCs and the academies, but I was always leaning toward VMI because of its reputation and difficulty. So when I first got that acceptance letter, I had a couple alumni reach out to me, including Katie Berry from the class of 18 and Sierra Self from the class of 17, and they told me about the school, and from there I was pretty much hooked. They introduced me with my dike, and from there it was just matriculation bound.
So what were the organizations in high school that you were involved in?
So naturally I was JROTC, and then I was also doing like National Honor Society, a couple sports, cross country and track. It's a little bit of a good mix. And then,
did you carry over track or any sports into VMI?
Oh no, I did not. I don't play any sports or clubs or VMI.
Okay, so what roles have you gotten involved with at VMI?
Well, currently as a rising first classman, I'm involved in a couple different organizations. The first and foremost would be the CSAB, where I currently serve as the operations officer. I've been in that organization about 2 years now, even though I was introduced as a fourth classman by my dike. We were part of a pilot program for a life skills program that the CSAB created. It was essentially a program dedicated to most of the skills that a lot of students complain about never being taught. However, it never gets brought up in school, such as changing a tire, doing your taxes, how to take out a home loan, paying back your student loans, stuff like that. Stuff you generally need in life, but you don't really typically learn from an education institution. And then I also participate in the CIG, which is the Cadet Investment Group. Even though it's more focused toward ECBU majors, it's open to all majors, and you can learn about how to invest and manage a investment portfolio. And then finally, I also participate in RAT Challenge at the India Company level. I serve as one of the lieutenants, and we oversee the planning and operations for that organization.
What does the operations officer do in CSAB?
So mostly I'll be helping with the planning, overseeing, and communications part of it. So I'll be helping the other officers, the secretary, the vice president, and president, help run the day-to-day operations as well as run communications throughout the organization.
Okay. Has being involved with CSAB helped you in your personal leadership journey?
Oh, so far it definitely has. Some of the skills, especially some of the team problem solving and problem solving based techniques that I've learned in the CSAB has already been carried over into several different aspects of my cadetship so far. I've been able to explain what we do in interviews, which is always popular with interviewers, those type of skills, as well as some of the normal academic functions at VMI. I've been able to use those skills in order to more develop toward academic program.
Has your definition of leadership changed between the time that you started at VMI as a rat to the time that you are now entering your first class year?
Certainly, I would say when coming into VMI, I would perceive leadership, almost being more toward a boss. It's like someone from the top of the chain tells you what to do, and it's mostly the bottom of the organization carrying it out. As I progressed throughout my cadetship, though, and now going into my first class year, I've really seen it as more of a dynamic leadership approach. Like a leader right now, as I see it, should be someone who can balance between empathy, coaching, and also being able to draw a hard line between when to be sympathetic and when to make those hard decisions. So really, I think it's someone who's really an adaptive leader, someone who knows their organization from the bottom up, but also can make the hard decisions from the top.
Right. So within VMI, within each class, I know that all the cadets, you all are on the same level. Everyone in your class, you're basically on this same level of being a cadet, doing your work, going through whatever clubs and activities you're in. How does that peer-to-peer relationship change when one of you needs to take on the role of a leader to those people that are on the same level as you?
So you're saying more peer-to-peer leadership?
Yeah, those peer-to-peer relationships that you have, that 1 minute you guys can be buddies and friends, but the next minute one of you is essentially in command of everyone else. How does that peer-to-peer relationship change? Is there a common knowledge that, okay, that you're going to be the follower in this situation, or is there any hostility towards each other, or how does that relationship usually play out?
I would say naturally it's always harder trying to lead peers as compared to leading people you don't know. But I'd say at VMI it's sort of like a special kind of relationship when you're in the leadership position there. When you're leading your BRs, they kind of have a natural understanding of what it's like, because everyone has to take part of that leadership role at some point. So there's always a unspoken communication between your groups that once someone takes leadership, you're always going to try to help them out as the leader in order to help develop them as the same you'd want for them to develop you. So I would say it's more of a two-way relationship when you're in that leadership position at VMI as compared to most other places, and that's something I definitely like about it.
Tell me about moving through the rat line and becoming a cadet, and how that's affected you or what it's taught you now in your leadership positions.
Well, for me, going through matriculation day, that was the first time I've ever seen campus in person. I've never seen VMI before that, so the first day matriculating was the first time seeing barracks, seeing the campus, and it was a pretty intimidating experience. As the rat line continued and we started seeing more sides to it, I was able to start to gain more perspectives and seeing all different types of leadership, and I think that's something I continue to see throughout my cadetship, is since we don't really have a specific adult oversight, we mostly have cadet leadership in all the positions. It's really the cadets taking charge of all these different organizations, including the rat line, and that's definitely something unique to VMI, because we can see not only each other develop, but we could see different perspectives from across the board. So I think something taken into my first class year would be getting to experience all those different types of leadership, so I've been able to develop myself as a leader.
What advice, if any, would you give to incoming rats as they go through the rat line, and maybe some things that they should be open to, just some advice for them?
I would say coming into VMI, a lot of people try to prepare for what it's going to be like. They think they have an idea of what to expect, and then the first time they walk into campus, they're all blown away. So I think the best advice I can give to rats is just don't have any expectations going into it, and just be flexible and adaptable to what you get into there, because it's going to be hard emotionally, mentally, and physically. So there's no real way to prepare for it other than just working out and then just getting ready for it. So I would just say my biggest advice is just be adaptable.
Great. So speaking of adaptability, how has your transition to virtual classes gone, and how does that change your routine from being in barracks, being with your other BRs, interacting daily that way?
I would definitely say this online transition has definitely been done in the VMI way. VMI hasn't had a lot of online infrastructure, so the transition was definitely a new experience both for the cadets and the professors, I believe. I say one of the most challenging parts of this has been, since they don't really have an understanding of what this is supposed to look like, neither do we, so it's both us trying to figure it out at the same time.
Sure.
But I definitely think it's VMI in the way that it's been an adaptable experience. Like, we try to figure it out as we go, but also taken that full experience with us. Like, we still do PT here on our own. We could still do like the Army workouts or ROTC workouts. All of our classes are just in a different format in most cases. I've been lucky enough not to have synchronous classes. All my classes have been asynchronous, so I've been able to complete them on my own schedule. But it's still similar to VMI in the fact that you have to maintain your own academic success. You have to be able to keep on top of your schedule, be on top of your assignments, and still complete everything in a rapid but also like complete manner.
So are you in contact with your BRs and for, you said I company, right? Are you in contact with the superior structure there?
I'd say at this point, not right now. It's mostly the end of the year. Going into next year will be more of the talking like leadership structures and all that. Mm-hmm. But right now, like, all our BRs are keeping in contact. Most of us are in the same situation, so we kind of have an idea of what we're all doing right now.
Right.
But it's definitely been an experience, but we've all been able to share the same. We've all had the same journey this far, so it still feels like the same thing, even going into online transition.
So are you all still like motivating each other?
I would say we're still pretty much motivating each other. Like, yeah, people still definitely keep in contact, and we definitely have to connect with each other for assignments. So academically, it still feels like we're in contact, but I'd say for just a normal life, we're kind of missing out on like getting just to see each other throughout barracks and like around campus, stuff like that. So some of like the day-to-day interactions are gone, but we're still definitely keeping in contact.
How are you staying motivated to keep up with the honor code as you would normally do if you're at barracks versus now that you have to keep up with it virtually?
We're just as motivated here as we would be there. I feel like, but it's something at VMI, it's special to us because we take pride in our honor system, so it's more of something that we have pride in. We're motivated to stay on top of it because when we get out of this experience at the end, it's one thing to say like, oh yeah, I beat the system, but it's a different thing to say I was honorable the entire way through, and when I got to the end of my cadetship, I could say everything I've done was in my own work. So it's like I got through on my own merit, as rather to... It's something we definitely take pride in at VMI.
Right.
Right. That's great, especially through a hard time like this.
Certainly.
And so tell me, what does leadership mean to you?
I would say it's mostly just being an adaptable leader. I think you have to be both empathetic and sympathetic, but also know when to draw a hard line and start being like more of a coach, more of a coach or a boss. You have to be able to make the hard decisions, but also continue to be relatable toward the members of your groups. You have to be able to be a charismatic leader.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate it in this grand experiment we're all kind of doing.
Certainly. Glad to be here.
The Center for Leadership and Ethics would like to thank the following: Cadet Caleb Minus, Class of 20, for the intro and backing music. Find more of his musical stylings on his Instagram page, @MinusOfficial. That's @MYNUS Official. Colonel David Gray, United States Army, retired, Director of the VMI Center for Leadership and Ethics, and of course, as always, our podcast guests.
Find this podcast and other CLE programming information on the VMI Center for Leadership and Ethics website, and try our YouTube channel. Follow the VMI Center for Leadership and Ethics on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram accounts. See you next episode of The Journey. Thanks for tuning in.